was established by victims themselves, victims of the former regime. 7 families came together. Immediately, Jammeh left the country. And the idea was, how do they fight collectively for their justice and to ensure that they are able to at least seek justice for their violations. So they started the idea, and later on, they made some consultation with civil human rights activists, CSOs, and the former minister of Batambedu. They made consultations, and eventually, when they went to the former minister of justice, Batambedu, he advised them to establish an association or an organization which they can legally register so that they are legally binding. In that way, they'll be able to fight for their justice using legal background. So that's how it started. Then after that, they started engaging victims. They started at ground zero, no office, no staff, nothing. So luckily, one high-profile victim, Amadou Skatejana, the former minister of sports or youth and information, he was a high-profile victim, offered one of his residences as an office. So that's where they started meeting, and the idea to register victims to be part of the association started emanating. So they started inviting people to come and register, So the number kept increasing. So we have, they were able to establish a database, a computerized database, where the victim information is stored. So, and the idea was not only to fight for justice, because as an organization, most of the victims, because of the torture method on them, they need continuous medical support. Some of them need continuous psychosocial support and counseling. So these were all part of the objectives of the association. So as time goes on, the idea of getting funding started to be discussed. How do we sustain the organization? Because if we want to exist, there must be some form of funding where we'll be able to hire competent staff to run the affairs of the association or the organization. So they started with proposals, and the first funding was from the German embassy. They gave them a lot of money, over $100,000. So that's how they started. Then after that, when I came on board in 2019, we started developing proposals. But before I came on board, we had small project proposals. But my coming, we were able to at least increase the scope and the number of proposals for funding. So this is how we sustain ourselves. The salaries are paid from funds that we generate proposals from. The medical support, we provide medical support to victims, psychosocial support, and educational support to children of victims. All this is possible because of the proposals that we developed, and with the support of philanthropists and good organizations and donor organizations, we are able to get some funding. This is how it all went on, and to now, up to date, we have over 2,000 victims who are registered in our database. So, and we were very, very influential because the TRRC was set up at the time. We were the only victim-led organization. Now we have about 8, and we form an alliance called Alliance of Victim-Led Organizations. So, but with the TRRC, when they came on board, they had to come and visit us, sit with us, because we are the only institution that have access to victims. So we had a memorandum of understanding with the TRRC so that we can support each other, support them to get the victims to make their testimonies as well as testify at the TRRC hearings. So we've been very, very influential on the ground, and we've reached a stage whereby we were even supporting victims legally. We had some legal officers and some other people. We had interns of various expertise. But now, due to limited funding, the number of staff had gone down drastically. So we have about 9 staff, including one cleaner. We are about 10. So we have a programs department, we have a finance department, psychosocial support, we have a communications department, and so forth. We are well established, and we are still writing winning proposals. So we still have donors who are very, very consistent in providing funding for medical support, providing funding for our operations, salaries, and so forth. Even the rent of this place is being paid through project proposals that we prepare. So the sad bit is we are yet to receive a dime from the government. Since its inception to date, we've been trying to see how we can get a subvention from the government, or at least support, financial support, or whatever type of support that can sustain the institution. Because we are serving Gambians, these people, their rights were violated by a former regime. Obviously, the incoming regime should be able to provide some form of relief to them. So that had been a big challenge. And also, we've been trying to get the president to make a national apology on the TV, and also have the heads of the various security institutions like the NIA, the former NIA, now SIS, and the immigration, the Inspector General of Police, and so forth, so that, and the Chief of Staff, Army Head of Office, Chief of Staff, so that if they make apologies on behalf of their men and women in uniform, and the president coming out to make an apology on behalf of all the victims, that could have kick-started the healing process. In fact, the president made promises on several occasions that he's going to visit us, but up to date, we are still pushing and pulling with him. In fact, when I took over in March, the first thing I did was to write to State House again, to appeal to see whether we can get the president an audience with him, so that we can appeal to him to make a national apology, or at least to come to the center, and he promised to visit us. So we're still looking forward to that visit. It's going to carry a lot of weight because, you know, Gambians, we can easily forgive and forget. So if we had the president at the beginning of maybe around 2018, 2019, when the TRRC was on, coming out to apologize, things would have been in a different level by now. But that apology had never happened. And you know, the other thing is the victim center, because of the high number of opposition members who are victims, like the UDP, the majority of the victims are UDP. So because of that, some quarters are perceiving us as an opposition. We are opposition sympathizers, and the institution is non-political, non-profit and non-political. And we stand by our principles of non-political and non-interference and so forth. So, but we are being misquoted, or there are misconceptions regarding the whole process. So this had been hampering our relationship with the government. Yeah, actually, we've tried our level best. And, you know, in other countries like in Liberia, in South Africa, in Sierra Leone, where they had conflicts. You know, we did not have any conflict. Those countries had conflicts, but at the end of the day, governments their governments, respective governments in those countries, were very, very supportive. Even in Chad, the Hussein Habre case, the victims are being supported by the government. So we were expecting that the same thing is going to happen in the Gambia, so that we get something, at least from the government, to sustain us. But this has not happened, and usually the reasons we always quote is lack of political commitment on the side of the government. Because why we say that, when the TRRC final report and recommendations was submitted to the president, that very week there were comments, negative comments, coming from the Speaker of the National Assembly, Babakary Tombong Jatta. And the comment he made was, the TRRC report is a witch hunt, it's not fair, and should be treated as toilet paper. If that is coming from that high level executive. The victims were very much discouraged. And when the government came up and accepted 263 recommendations out of the 265, we were so amazed. We never expected that to happen because of those comments. So, and also the reason why we think political commitment is missing or is very, very minimal, is the merger between the NPP and the APRC government. The APRC is the perpetrator government. You cannot send a perpetrator out of government. So many human rights abuses were meted on Gambians. The TRRC, they had 2,600 cases of human rights violations. So that means the magnitude was not a small thing. So immediately after coming into power, the new government, what they did is, because of the fallout within the UDP, between Hussein Odabo and His Excellency Adama Barrow formed his own party. So in the process of looking for alliance, how to sustain his party, he made that merger with the APRC. The APRC is the perpetrator government. All the violations that were meted on Gambians were meted on them by perpetrators serving as agents of the former government. So you cannot bring in enablers as part of a new government, and yet still you say you are putting up a transitional justice process. There must be some limitations. There must be some gaps. So this is what exactly is happening in the country. So because if you look at the TRRC recommendations, the recommendations were made in 2021. In May 2022, the government came up with a government white paper. In May 2023, they came up with a strategic plan to implement the 263 recommendations for a period of 5 years, up to 2027. So as we speak, out of the 263 recommendations, we talk about less than 20% implementation. So most of the recommended recommendations are yet to be implemented. And there are very simple ones. The renaming of the arch. Maybe you heard people saying, never again arch, but they have not been officialized. It's still not yet officialized. Declaring April 10 and 11, the student demonstration as school holidays. These are very simple recommendations. And a host of others. There are simple things that could have been implemented within a period of 1 week or so, if the commitment was there. But again, lack of the commitment on the side of the government. And right now, the 263 recommendations that were accepted in the government white paper, the implementation is very, very slow. Because what happened is, the implementation plan assigned key responsibilities to various departments and ministries in the government. So last October, the National Human Rights Commission, who is mandated to monitor the implementation process of the TRRC recommendations, they had a press conference where they stated that the delays or the limited level of implementation is due to lack of funds at some of the departments. It's like government, they have a plan, implementation plan, they have the budget, but they are not dishing out any amount to those ministries to implement some of the recommendations. So that's one of the reasons. You assign me 10 recommendations, you don't give me any funds to implement it. So all this is just lack of political commitment. Had it been the commitment is there, by now we'll be talking about 50, 60%, because we are just left with 2 years. By 2027, the first phase of the implementation plan will be exhausted. So we don't know what's going to happen after that, whether it's going to be extended, or whether the commitment will change, or will at least improve. But definitely there is this dilemma among victims that the process of implementation of the TRRC recommendation is very, very small, it's very slow, and people are not satisfied to that level. Thank God, the perpetrators who are adversely meant, some of them were arrested out of this country, like the Bailo case, the Usman Sonko, the Michael Sankoria, and the others. They were tried in their respective countries that they were captured, and they've been imprisoned, some for life, some for a long period. And Yankuba Touré has also been tried. We've seen what happened to Yankuba Touré. Even though the TRRC refused to cooperate, and eventually he was arrested and tried. And the perception we have is, had Yankuba Touré cooperated well, maybe he still be working scot-free in the society. because of his attitude, the TRRC were vexed on him, Gambians were so much disappointed, and that made the process of prosecuting him so fast, which is good, at least. So we have 4 of them already prosecuted and jailed. So the list of 65 now is waiting. So this includes the former president. So as we expect that as soon as the Special Prosecutor's Office is established, very soon we'll start having the hearings for the for the perpetrators. So, and for Jammeh, they are in the process of setting a hybrid court. Hybrid court means a court that is going to be outside of the jurisdiction of the country. So there is not yet decided where it is going to be hosted, but it can be within any of the nearby or neighboring countries, like in Ghana and the others. I mentioned Ghana because you heard about the 2005 massacre of the Ghanaians. 44 Ghanaians were killed, alongside other West African people. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we think it's going to happen very soon. And this is why when Jammeh said he's coming, some quarters were saying, it served as a threat. But on the other hand, if you look at it, it would have been a blessing in disguise, because had he come, there will be no more negotiation to get him to courts or so forth. So it would have been easier. You just arrest him, set up the hybrid court, then straight away take him to court. But now that he's not around, so once the court is set up, they have to negotiate with the Equatorial Guinea government to see how they can get him and try him. Yeah, actually, what happened is a matter of law, because in the country there is a certain period of time that you can detain somebody. So most of these junglers were kept under detention for over 2 years. So the Ministry of Justice decided that we can no longer keep them under detention. We must come up with a strategy where we can at least see how we can have them a little bit free or under bail condition, so that when we need them, when the courts are established, they can come back. It's just that the setting up, as I stated earlier, that the setting up of the courts had been delayed. If not by now, we should not be talking about this prosecution. By now, most of them should have been in jail by now. So the other reason why they were put on bail was they are the people that we are banking on to serve as witnesses when the Jammeh is being tried. Because we had the TRRC. There is nowhere where they said the Jammeh hit me or shot me or did this to me. He was not involved. All he was doing was he's using his directives. Do this, I don't want to see Mr. Fall, do this to Mr. Fall. This was the process. So when the court is on, we need the perpetrators to say, yes, Yahya Jammeh, you assigned us on this particular day to go and kill Mr. So and so and so, or to do this and so, kill Kebba Johm at the hospital, and those are things we need the perpetrators for. I think so. It's like a negotiation. If you keep them unnecessarily longer than anticipated, they may refuse to serve as witnesses. And in that case, Yahya is going to be free. So this is the bargain. But it also depends on the magnitude of the destruction or the perpetration that was meted on Gambians. Like you mentioned the case of Sana Manyang. The Sana Manyang was serving as the leader of the junglers, and he was so wicked, he killed a lot of people. So after 8 years on the run, eventually he had been arrested. And already his case is at the High Court. Sana is going to be remanded, because most of the killings, the extrajudicial killings, the enforced disappearance, the nasty forms of murder is all perpetrated by Sana. Imagine killing somebody like Haruna Jammeh, Marcy Jammeh, closely related to the former president. But because of disputes and some suspicion, Yahya Jammeh ordered them to be eliminated. And the manner, seeing the TRRC narrations, how Haruna was killed alone is justified enough to send Yahya, this senator, death squad, not even my life in imprisonment. Taking a rope, putting it on the neck of the guy, two big soldiers, and the guy was lying on the floor. Sana ordered them to pull the rope. Strangle him. And as he was struggling, he jumped from the pickup and stabbed him on the neck. And there is on the neck. That was so much gruesome. Brutal. What you call it. Then after a few weeks, Mercy, the younger brother of Haruna, went to ask Jammeh, what about Haruna? What happened to Haruna? Jammeh responded, do you want to see him? Of course, yes. The next moment, they ordered for Mercy to be murdered as well. Just as Kujabi is a nephew to the former president. So somebody who had been involved to that level of wickedness, definitely we are very, very glad that he had been captured. When we heard of the news, at first, in fact, some media houses interviewed me. I said, unless I see him arrested and handed over to the government, I cannot believe this. And that was the perception of most victims. Sana is widely needed and wanted. Yes. Actually, the Deda case is a very, very sad case. The way it happened, the way he was followed from his office all the way to around KMC. By then I was at KMC under the National Aid Secretariat Project. I was the National Coordinator for KMC. We were going in the morning to work, and there was this scene. They said Deda was killed here, just before the KMC annex offices. That's where I was. So it serves as a reminder that a lot of nasty things happen in this country. We are sending our condolences to the family and assuring them that the major perpetrator had been captured, and one of the charges is the killing of Deda Haidara. So Baba Haidara is a very active member of the Victim Center, was a member of the former board that left 2 years back. And we are saying sorry for what had happened, and we are assuring them that definitely justice is going to happen. Once Sana had been captured, we'll know all the nitty-gritties, all the nonsenses that they did to ensure that they eliminated Deda. So to all journalists and all media houses, we are sending greetings